Hey guys, welcome back to the shop. Today, I kind of want to talk to you about opportunities and tools, and they kind of go hand in hand. And so recently I had a friend call me, actually a neighbor, call me up and asked me to help him do some moving around of some tires and that kind of thing. And what he was doing is he was cleaning out a property, and he had a family member that had moved on, and they had left a lot of stuff behind. And so being handy and kind of being the neighborhood mechanic, I get these calls quite regular. Word kind of gets out. And so he said, hey, if, I got this old lawnmower. If you want it, you can have it. If you don't want it, that's fine too. He said, but I need some help with these boat trailer tires. And I was like, sure. So I went over and kind of assessed the situation, came back, got some tools, took care of the boat. No real big issues there. But what I wanted to kind of make a video about is opportunity. And you don't want a bunch of junk sitting around your yard. So I told him, I told my neighbor straight up, I said, hey, look, if it doesn't look nice, lawnmower, I'm really not interested in it. I don't want to hurt your feelings. I'll help you with the boat, but I may not take the lawnmower because I don't want junk sitting around the house. But there's an opportunity there to make a little money, make a little side money, have a little side hustle, get a lot of experience too. You're not invested a whole lot of upfront monies. By someone giving you a mower or any small engine is an opportunity to learn something. You can't work on everything, or you can't afford to work on everything on your own. Sometimes you're just going to have to stumble into things. And what we stumbled into today is a riding lawnmower. Now it's springtime here. I got to tell you, now is riding lawnmower season. If you've got one and it looks good, and this one does, then you've got an opportunity here. You've got an opportunity to make some side money. And so right now we have nothing invested in this other than an hour or so to go help a friend out, which I was going to do anyway, and that doesn't matter. But we've got a Craftsman 20 horse 42-inch riding lawnmower. And I know it's not a zero turn, but these still bring pretty good money. You can pick these up from anywhere from $300 to $500 used, marketplace, Craigslist, Let Go, wherever you shop at. Now, I've taken the seat off. I've already done some diagnosing on this one. Again, one of my big faults with having a YouTube channel is I just get into a project and I start working and I don't turn the camera on. And sorry, it just did. So what we found out here is, of course, it was given to us as a no start. It didn't run, take it as it is, and that's fine. There's still a lot of valuable parts here. I even looked on eBay today, and the nose on this thing's $200 if you want to part it out. So there's opportunities everywhere. You just got to be willing to look for them. One of the things I wanted to kind of talk about was tools. A test light, a 12-volt test light. They're just invaluable. Now you can go, if you know how to use an ohm meter, by all means get an ohm meter. They do a lot more things, but a simple 12-volt test light, they're inexpensive. You can pick these up for about $2 to $3, $10 maybe for a really fancy one, but all it's going to do is two things. It's going to light up. Some of them beep, the new ones beep, but it's a simple tool, and once you get familiar with how to use a test light, you can really understand a lot with wiring. And the way I used to test light on this lawnmower is I know that most lawnmowers have 1 to 2 safeties on them before they'll start. The first being the seat. And so what I've done is I bypassed that safety. Now I'm not recommending you do it like this, permanently, but for testing purposes, the kids say, is I've pulled the compression button out of it here, and I've just put it in a C-clamp. I'm going to put it right back the way it's supposed to be from the factory. That's the first safety I had to bypass. That way I could hook a battery charger up to my battery, which, look at this battery. Look at the corrosion on this battery. I mean, it's toast, right? So that brings me up to my next tool. That, I'm going to tell you, is a 30-year-old, because I bought it. That's how long I've had it. I bought it in 1991. I did. I bought that in 1991. I had recently graduated high school and I needed a battery charger. And so I'm going to tell you, don't buy the little small Mickey Mouse ones that are about 4 inches tall, because what happens is when you put them onto a battery that's dead like this, they will do nothing. They won't put out any current. Go ahead and get the taller machine. They will rate down to 0. They will put a charge in just about anything. Now I know this battery's no good. I'm not trying to say that it isn't. But I don't want to spend any money on this mower until I think, you know, I'll figure out what I've got going on. You can't fold the seat down, trip the button with with cables hooked up. So something had to go, so we pulled the seat off. I could run the cables on here. So then I pull the hood. And the first thing I want to do, just like with three-wheelers, again guys, mechanics are repetitive. The vehicles may change, but the processes generally stay the same. We had very old fuel in here. I've already cleaned the gas tank out. The gas was just as orange as it could be. It's actually in an orange bucket, which is cheating a little bit, but I promise you, it was really bad. You can get an idea from our air filter here that there was actually a yellow surround foam that just literally fell off when I touched it. So we pulled the air filter out. I did put a new fuel filter in, a new fuel. And I hit the key and nothing happened. I mean nothing, dead stick, nothing happened. So the first thing I do is I take a test light. I know I've got power coming from my battery charger into my wiring. Basically, I'm just disregard the battery. And I'm feeding current into the machine. And I use a test light as kind of a map, if you will. And so I came up here, and on a riding lawnmower, you're generally gonna find a key, which is on the dash, and then you're gonna find a relay. And the most important thing, way I use a test light, is I just want to follow the current. Do I have current all the way up here to this solenoid, or this relay, I'm sorry. Do I have current up to the relay? And I checked my pole, and I had current. And then I checked my lead here, that's actually coming from the key. I checked that, and I didn't have current. And I thought, why would the key not be powering the relay? And so I went back and I double checked that I had tripped the safety on the seat, and then I got to thinking, well, the next probable safety is going to be a parking brake. Now on the more modern machines, that's exactly what it was. I set the brake like so. I came back over, didn't touch anything else, and I hit the key. Okay, so what did that tell us? That told us that now we have current going through the key. It controls, it hits the starter just like it's supposed to, and it shuts off. So now, just like with a three-wheeler, our wiring of this machine is relatively, we can check it off the list. We know that the wiring is intact, and we're ready to move on to the next thing. What I'm gonna do is we're gonna see if it will actually run off a little starter fluid. So that's my next step. Choke on. This is our intake. Okay, so there we go. We know we've got compression, we know we've got spark, everything is in good order, but I can tell you the next problem is I tried this a couple of times with starter fluid, and the starter fluid, it would only run for the length of time till it burned off the starter fluid. What was happening is the fuel was coming down into the filter, but it's not coming into the carburetor. So that tells me we've got a float problem. Something is keeping that fuel from going from the tank to the carburetor. Either the carburetor is dirty, so we're gonna pull that carburetor apart. So you're gonna see I picked up a battery today at work, and I went online. You can literally type in your lawnmower into Amazon or eBay, and you will find kits. Now they are not the genuine OE quality, but they'll get you by. Air filter in this case is actually internal and an external foam. An oil filter, which we're going to change the oil on this machine, and a fuel filter. All comes in a kit with a spark plug. You really can't beat that for $23. So we've got zero invested in the mower. We know that it runs. I've spent $23 on a tune-up, if you will, tune-up kit. And today I spent $60, which it's a lot. But this machine, you are not going to be able to sell it without a battery in it. No one's going to give you a nice price for a lawnmower that doesn't start on its own. If you've got to jump it or pull it or something like that, nobody's going to want to buy it. So you pretty much have to buy a battery. So with that in mind, I picked up a battery today. It was $60 to me. We're going to put that in. We won't need the jump box anymore for that. Right now I'm going to pull the carburetor. I want to ride it tonight. We still have a few more hurdles on this machine, and we've got a toe problem. If you look at those front tires, they are towed out pretty considerable. I'll lift the machine up, we'll get underneath it and we'll figure out what it is. The deck seems to be in good shape. The blades are intact, they're rusty, but we're gonna find out what's going on with it. I can tell you that replacement engines is a big market for replacement engines. If you've got a 20 horse or 24 horse vertical shaft engine, they are great replacements for all the zero turn mowers that are more popular with that same engine. Again, there's opportunities out there. You just got to be willing to go for it. And this is basic hand tools. If you like working with your hands and you like figuring stuff out, then there's really no reason why you can't do this. You start with a push mower. You know, start with a weed eater, an edger, you know, anything like that to kind of get your hands dirty and figure out something. You'll be amazed. Make a couple $100 here, a couple $100 there, and it really does add up. It really does. So let me get some tools and we'll pull this carburetor off. All right, so I got to do a little disclaimer here. It's one of those things that happen, and this is part of life. So I was taking the factory carburetor off, and when I was pulling the little plug out of the bottom, it was really stuck. I actually kind of pulled a little too hard, and the carburetor hit the nose on this machine, and when it did, it broke off a little tension screw with a little spring on it, and it went flying, and it actually broke off flush. And for $23 for a replacement carburetor, I just said to heck with it. Give me the $23 carburetor. We'll put it on there. And so that's why this machine got a new carburetor. All right, so there you have it. We got $122, and I know that's a lot up front. We got 3 hours of labor. You know, that adds up too. But the lessons you've learned in a project like this, I have to justify that $60 battery for a riding lawnmower. No one is going to want to give you $300, $400, $500 for this if they just can't sit on it and turn the key. I mean, that's just the cost of doing business. You don't want to get into that, then maybe you should start with a push mower or a weed eater, an edger or something like that. I like little edgers. You can get a little edger with a little 3.5, Briggs on it or something like that, and you can get those things running for literally nothing. And you can turn a $15 purchase into a $100 sale. Now that's small money, but this is a foundation. I am talking to the guys out there that's got 2 screwdrivers, a hammer, and a pair of pliers. I mean, you can do a lot with very minimal tools. I would add to that a battery charger, and I would also add to that a test light if you're going to get into more complex machines, which these are not that difficult. You see, there's not much to them. But it's a foundation. This is where you start. You start in small engines, the smaller the better, and you work your way up into vehicles and cars. And then if you want to specialize in diesels and things like that, then you can do that. You can take down that path, but you have to start with a foundation, understanding fuel and spark and timing and compression and how one part of a machine relates to another part of a machine. But this is flipping 101. You take something that doesn't run, and you add value to it by getting it running. And that's what you bring to the table. Your knowledge of getting something running is where the value comes from. This lawnmower, to most people, was worthless. They would have scrapped it. They would have got $5 for it, at the scrapyard, and that would have been it. We can take something like this, invest a little bit in it, put a little bit of money with it, and we can turn this into $300, $400, maybe $500. Now that's about the max in my area what you're going to get for a riding lawnmower. This mower is several years old, and so I don't think it's going to be worth more than that. But if you're out looking, if you're out flipping and looking for your next flip or something, and you want to get started, the key thing to remember is it has to look good. If this thing was missing a nose, had 3 flat tires, and the seat was all tore up from the dog chewing on it, nobody's going to ever give you anything for it. So it has to look good. You have to know going in where your money's going to be spent. Is your money going to be spent in making it run, or is your money going to be spent making it look good? And as we already found out, the nose on this thing is like $200. So all of a sudden, if you had to buy a nose for this, you'd be upside down. You would be the proud owner of a very old lawnmower. But it runs great. You saw it run, drive back and forth. I'm gonna put the belt on it, like I said, and hopefully cut a little bit of grass. That's always good. I like to make sure that something's working before I sell it. Wash it really good, put it out there on Marketplace. Nowadays with a smartphone, guys, there's no reason why you can't make a few dollars here and there. And though this may only bring $200 or $300 into my household, that's $200 or $300 that I didn't have to actually stay late at the office or at the job or something like that. I enjoyed it and I learned something from it. I can take what I've learned on this machine and I'll apply it to the next machine. It'll make me a better mechanic on that machine, and it'll make me a better buyer the next time I look at one. Next time I look at one, I'm like, I don't know, them front ends are pretty bad. And so I can use that as a bargaining chip to maybe bring the price down on the purchase. There's just a lot of things that you can learn from a small engines project like this that carries on into much bigger projects. And so that's what I'm trying to explain and try to share with you. So there's a lot of opportunities out there. If you've got basic hand tools, you've got a place to work, and you've got a smartphone, then my goodness, the world is your oyster. If you wanted to part this out, just like we learned with the 3-wheelers, the parts are worth more than the assembled machine. Me personally, I just like to sell the assembled machine and get all of it gone at one time. But if you wanted to sell that seat's not tore up, you could sell the engine and the nose off of it, and you could probably real quick make $600. So that's all I'm trying to say. It's a different video. It's not 3-wheelers, it's not 4-wheelers, but we do have parts in, guys. So a couple things, a little update. The LT has a strip drain plug, so we're gonna have to tap that case. So that's gonna be coming up. And the 250R, TRX 250R piston and rings showed up today. So I'm looking forward, I hope to get started on that tomorrow. Maybe that'll be next week's project. But as for this week's project, there it is. A lot of guys that pick up lawnmowers like this and generators and tillers and things in the off season, they'll pick these up in the winter time and they'll get them running and then they'll sit on them. And then come springtime, they wash them up and they hit Marketplace with them. And you would be amazed at how fast you can turn a few hours and just a few dollars into several $1,000s real quick. And it doesn't take long. It really doesn't. So that's all. Just a little encouragement there, guys. There's opportunities out there. You can look at the same situation a lot of different ways. You just have to open your eyes and kind of bring it all in and then process it and figure out what's going to work best for you. Had this motor not run, maybe we'd have pulled the nose and the seat off of it and scrapped it. You know, there's just a lot of different ways to look at stuff. I really wanted to be under $100 on this rebuild or on this fix. But that just didn't happen. I've got to have it cut grass. It's got to have a belt on it. A riding lawnmower needs to perform if you're really going to expect to get top dollar for it. So that's the reason for the new carburetor. It's not something I wanted to do. I really just, when I pulled it apart, I broke it. My fault. So I'm going to have to eat that and I have to own it. But that is part of mechanicking. If you misjudge something or you break something in the process of the rebuild, it's going to hit you in your margins. So thanks for watching as always. I appreciate it. A little something different this week. Still mechanicking, still turning wrenches. I think that's it. We're going to get this thing washed up and put a belt on it. We're going to take it to Marketplace and we're going to make a couple $100. So what'd you do with your weekend? Did you make a couple $100? I hope you did. You take care. Bye. So as always, please like, share, and subscribe. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next week.